I created this video to show you how I set the horses up for lunging and the benefits of using an outside side rein when you lunge versus just lunging with the bridle. For the reins, I slide both reins from the outside over the horse's poll and then wrap them around themselves twice before sliding the throat latch through the end of the reins and doing it up. This way there is no loose rein and no chance of the horse getting tangled. I then slide the lunge line through the inside bit ring and attach it to the roller at the girth buckle so that when the horse is working correctly on the bit, on the lunge line, it will be almost parallel to the ground. I find the rings on the rollers are placed too high up and I only utilise them when I want the horse working in a more collected frame. Alfie is quite a young horse and has only been broken in for about 6 months, so I want him working quite long and low in a frame to help strengthen up his top line muscles whilst learning to engage more from behind. You will see after I attach the lunge line, I asked Alfie to step away from me to begin lunging, rather than me stepping away from Alfie and asking him to walk off. You always want the horse to step away from you rather than stepping back from the horse, as they need to be aware of and respect your space all the time. To begin with, I have left the outside side rein off to show you how Alfie travels without that supporting outside rein. It's only a brief video as this is not how I train and I don't want him practicing going in this manner. When you are lunging, you need to place yourself in line with the horse's shoulder. So we are essentially in a triangle shape, with me being the single point of the triangle, with Alfie's head being the second point and his hindquarters being the third point. So the lunge line connects me to Alfie's front end and the whip helps me to engage the hindquarters and aids me if I need to push him out on the circle. As you can see, without the use of the outside rein, Alfie is travelling in a hollow frame and is demonstrating hollow transitions and sometimes looking to the outside of the circle. It's harder for me to correct him looking out without the support of the outside rein. Now that I have demonstrated lunging without the outside side rein, I'm going to attach the side rein to the outside bit ring and back to the girth buckle so it's at the same height as the lunge line. With this setup, the lunge line is attached to the inside girth buckle, will replicate my inside rein, and the outside side rein will act as the outside rein, so I can now be more effective with my inside rein as well as having more consistent control. When Alfie goes to look out on the circle, I'm now able to correct him by vibrating my inside hand. The outside rein also helps him to balance and engage his hindquarters so he starts to work in a more consistently round frame whilst following the line he is travelling on from poll to tail. When Alfie makes a hollow transition, I can correct him by squeezing and softening my inside rein to ask him to stay soft and round, the same as I would under saddle. If Alfie starts to lose impulsion, I can push my inside hand to the side and give a little tug to encourage him to keep stepping under, as you can see me doing during parts of the video. Whilst I'm lunging, I try to stay in the one position and move the horse around me and keep him at the end of the lunge line so that the circle remains even, and so at no point in time does the rope between the horse and myself touch the ground. If the rope was to become so loose that it was touching the ground, then the horse risks getting tangled in it. I always like to get the horse to stop on the circle rather than coming into me, because if they're always looking to come into me, then they're wanting to cut in on the circle. So I always ask them to halt on the outside track, on the outside of the circle, and I walk out to them. You will see here Alfie's having a little protest. So I just keep walking forward towards his shoulder and pushing him out around me rather than stepping back to accommodate him. I want to push him forward and away from me. And when I've changed direction, I always like the horse to go through the paces again rather than going straight to trot. I want him to walk a couple of circles in the new direction first, then move forward to trot, then to canter, then to do some transitions back and forth, depending on what level the horse is working at. If I feel they're not listening to me enough in the walk and the trot, then I'll get them to do some transitions from walk to trot before progressing to the canter. It's hard to hear from the video because I've had to lower the background noise, otherwise it will just sound like static in the background. So you cannot hear my voice. So Alfie and all of the horses here work on voice commands for lunging. So I keep the commands very simple: walk, trot, canter. If I want a bigger trot, I'll ask them to trot on. If I want a bigger canter, I'll ask them to canter on. Now, as you can see here, Alfie's getting a little bit rushed on the lunge. So I just bring him in on the circle a little bit to steady him. And now he's back to trot. So my downward aids are the same as my upward aids, except I use a downward lilt in my voice. So from canter to trot, I'd be like trot. And from trot to walk, it'd be walk. I always try to adjust my body language as well. I try to keep my body language quite quiet, keep the whip quiet, do the least amount possible whilst keeping the horse paying attention to me. So if the horse is getting too rushy and not listening to me, I will actually tilt my body to turn towards the hindquarters and I will look down. If they're still not listening, then I start to bring them in on the circle until we decrease that size of circle until they come back and start paying attention again. Ideally, I like to have the horses on around a 15 to 18 metre circle. The smaller the circle, the more you increase the degree of difficulty, which is why you make the circle smaller when the horse isn't listening to you. As you can see, now that we are at the end of the lunging session, Alfie is covering more ground, his back's more relaxed, and he's starting to want to stretch down and round more, which is what we're looking for when the horse is using its top line muscles correctly under saddle as well. So that's the end of today's video. I hope you found these training tips helpful. And if you have, please give us a recommendation and subscribe to our channel, KPH Horse Training Tips. Catch you next time.